exposing treason, retribution, and disappointment. I just got done with our taxes, right up to the point where I needed to include my wife's data. I mean, business information. I told her I was going to be doing taxes soon and that I needed her income, expenses, and blah blah blah. When I had done all I could, I reminded her that I needed it and that our taxes were waiting for her to finish her business. Now, you have to realize one thing about my wife. If I remind her of anything, she gets angry, irrationally angry, like who am I to dare remind her of anything? She freaked out whether she did or not. So, after 3 weeks of waiting, I grabbed her laptop and looked to see if she even had any spreadsheet or note-taking software. Of course, she didn't, but her messaging app was open. Now, I could have been a good husband and spit on it, but I was pissed at her, so I decided to see if I could get some gossip about her friends. I didn't expect to find a message from one of her coworkers trying to convince her to meet him for sex. I reread all the way to the beginning and found that, for over a month, he had been working her pretty hard. She was accepting of his attention and, in some ways, encouraging him without shutting down communication. Every message exchange I read pissed me off more and more. So, after reading the last message, where she told him his dirty talk made her wet, I sent him the next message on her behalf. Let's meet up. Get a room at the N6 motel, and I'll be there at 3 o'clock. I hit send and was about to get ready for battle, but I panicked. If she had an app on her phone, she'd get a notification when he replied. I ran upstairs and took a deep breath when I saw that she was napping. Her phone was on the table, so I grabbed it, brought it up to her face to unlock it, and rushed into the kitchen. I opened the app and saw that he had responded. Finally, you won't be able to walk when I'm done with you. Clearly, I was dealing with a real romantic. I deleted the last message from my phone, then shut down my computer and called my friend Axel. Hey Johnny, what's going on? Axel, I need you to meet me at the N6 motel at 4 to 3. Hey man, I like you and all, but not that much. That's funny. Look, one of Meg's coworkers is trying to get in her pants, and I'm going to stomp on him like a dirtbag. That's cool. I'll see you soon. I laughed at his agreement. That's why I called him. He was my roommate when I was a kid, and we used to do some crazy shit. He was a scandalizer while I was a chatterbox. I could wriggle my way out of any situation with chatter, but Axel could beat the snot out of anyone. His name was Donald, but he didn't think that sounded tough enough. He picked Axel by looking at a list of car parts. He's one of my most loyal friends. He's perfect for what I need today. I took her cell phone with me in case he texted her and left her dozing. I talked to her about it later. In the motel parking lot, I saw Axel's truck. It suddenly occurred to me that I had no idea what the guy looked like. But that was solved when he came out with his phone to his ear. Her phone rang on the seat of my car. I punched Axel with my fist and walked over to follow the guy into the room. Is that him? He asked. Yeah. What are we doing? Admit it, I decided to punch him a couple times and tell him to stay away from her. Got it? No killing. We laughed and caught up with him as he was opening the door. Axel kicked the door open, and I ran in, surprising the cheating bastard. What's up? That was all the guy had time to say before my fist smashed into his jaw. Damn, that hurt. It looked like I broke a finger. Axel squeezed past me and kicked him in the balls. He got him pretty good. He didn't move from his spot. Axel picked him up and threw him on the bed. Hey! Axel slapped him. What do you guys want? Take my wallet. Here. Shut up. I yelled and threw a punch, making him flinch. You think it's okay to make love to a married woman? Oh, you're her husband? I'm going to keep your ass in jail until you're 60, you stupid. Axel smiled and pulled a set of brass knuckles out of his pocket. His head bounced as far back as it could, and he stretched out his arms. Okay. I'm sorry. If you leave now, I won't say a word to the cops. Just walk away, okay? I'm not talking to your wife again. I shook my head. Axel smiled and cracked his knuckles. What else do you want? He groaned. I saw the urine darken on the front of his jeans. I laughed through the pain and said, Look at that! He peed in his pants. Axel laughed. Dude, I was going to punch him between the legs. Now there's a puddle in there. Oh, do you see what you've done? You ruined my friend's fun. How are you going to make it up to him? I'm sorry. Look, what do you want? He moaned. I looked at Axel. Revenge. He nodded. Revenge. Oh. The dirtbag moaned. Take your clothes off, Axel said. What? No, Axel put the knuckles on his fingers. He began to strip comically quickly. He stood naked in front of us, and we laughed at his little dignity. Really? You were going to attract my wife with that? I looked at Axel and he shook his head. Okay. Out. What? Out where? You. Go out. Naked. Axel and I nodded in unison. It wasn't the first time we'd gotten revenge on someone. He shouted and headed for the door. Axel followed and I grabbed his wallet and keys. Run home, you sack of garbage. Ugh, he moaned. Axel slammed his fist into the door, leaving a dent in it. The guy ran away, leaving us laughing. How's your arm, dopey? Dude, that hurt like hell. I looked at my finger. It was swollen. I think I broke a joint or something. Come on, dude. I'll keep you company in the emergency room. X-rays showed the finger wasn't broken, just dislocated and needed to be put back in place. A shot of local anesthetic hurt like hell, but after a couple of hours, I was out of there with my finger in a splint. I think the doctor's lecture was more excruciating than the finger. He called me an idiot a couple of times and told me that grown men don't fight. I nodded in agreement for him to shut up and walked out of there satisfied. I hoped the guy left my wife alone. I walked into the house, and Meg was already up and pissed. Have you seen my cell phone? I can't find it anywhere. Yeah. I tossed her the phone and went into the kitchen to get a beer. Work, she moaned. I shook my head. Listen to me. If I'm quoting correctly, oh, Juan, you make me so wet when you write things like that. Well, anyway, it's pretty close. You went through my phone, you? I gave her the middle finger with the tire and nodded. Yeah, I guess you are. Oh, Johnny, you stupid. What did you do? I dealt with good old Juan. Now it's your turn. But I'm not sure what I'm going to do with you yet. Just as she was about to say something, the doorbell rang. Shut up for now, I said and headed for the door. I opened it and saw two of our local guys in blue. One of them was my friend Jimmy. With him was a guy I knew from my bowling league. Hey, guys, come on in. They followed me into the house, and Jimmy said, John, we're sorry, but we're here on official business. Hi, Meg. I sat down and took a sip of my beer. Have a seat, guys. You know I'm not going to fight with you. They sat down and Jimmy continued. John, we picked up a naked man running down 7th Street. His name is Juan Burns. Do you know him? I shrugged my shoulders and said, well, not that I know him. I met him once, though. I smirked at my wife as she watched this exchange of remarks in shock. He says you and another guy beat him up and made him walk home from the motel naked, Jimmy said. I laughed. You know me, Jimmy? He chuckled and said, yeah, tell me, what happened to your arm? Oh, this? I tripped over the damn garden hose and dislocated my finger trying to cushion the fall. Right, honey? She looked at me like I was crazy and said, yes, I left the hose out, and my clumsy husband tripped right over it. Any idea why he might blame you for his, predicament? Another officer asked. I think his name was Kevin, but I couldn't remember exactly and felt uncomfortable about it. Meg spoke up. He's been sexually harassing me for about a month, Jimmy. I think he may be trying to isolate Johnny from me. Jimmy nodded. Did you know about this, John? I shook my head and stared at Meg. No, but Meg and I are going to talk about her secrets from me. Jimmy looked at his partner and said, well, I think we've heard it all. If anyone investigates this and discovers something linking you to the situation, we're going to have to hold you. You know what I mean? I nodded and stood up. I shook their hands with my healthy hand and said, I hope you find the guy who did this, Jimmy. He grinned at me. Yeah, but the problem is we're so overworked and understaffed that it might go unresolved. We need to fry bigger fish, you know? I patted him on the back. I hear you. Give Jill a kiss. Sure. You just keep your nose cleaner, please. I nodded and closed the door as they walked to their car. Jesus, Johnny, You're lucky you're friends with most of the guys on the force. I shrugged and went back to the TV so I could still listen to Tiger's interview. Our town is small, less than 5,000 people, depending on whether you look at the latest census or the signs on the city limits. I actually knew most, if not all, of the police officers and their women. We all grew up together, or I was friends with their brothers, sisters, or cousins. Like I said, I could talk my ass off about just about anything. I turned around when the doorbell rang again. Jesus, Meg. It's like Grand Central Station in here today. Axel squeezed in with a case of chilled Molson's. It better be cold, dude. I just opened the last bottle. I said. I don't buy warm beer, Cook. You know that. I wanted to punch him for calling me Cook, but I slowed down. He was the only man who could get away with kicking me in the balls like that. Not because I was afraid to fight him, but because I knew he was just trying to piss me off. Besides, my middle finger on my striking hand was in a tire. He put the beer in the fridge, and I wondered what he pulled out of there to find a place. Meg is bound to get pissed. He came back into the room, looked intently at a stunned Meg, and handed me the bottle. Who were those blue guys who were leaving when I pulled up? Jimmy and, I think, Kevin. Oh, how's Jill and the kids? I don't know. He questioned me about our fun this afternoon, though. He did, huh? Yeah. Well, since you're still sitting here, we're doing okay. He smirked. I nodded. We're fine if there aren't any cameras in the motel. I didn't see any cameras. Neither had I. He looked at Meg and frowned. So, you're looking for an extra man, huh? Your buddy has about half as much as your old man. You should pick something better next time. I'm not looking for a dude, she yelled. We laughed, and she ran out of the room. What are you going to do with her? I told him the whole story. Back at the emergency room, he told me to either kick her out or make her meet me at the door every day. I liked the latter option better. Oh, Tiger's on. Take a break, stupid. I laughed and said, no problem. Tiger had been dodging questions for 10 minutes. Are you coming back or retiring? When Meg came back into the room, Axel asked, shaking the empty bottle. Meg, can you get me another beer? Babe? Meg was about to tell him where to stick the bottle when she saw the knuckles he was molding on his fingers. She groaned. You guys are dumber than a bag of hammers. He looked at me and said, these are brand new. I wanted to give them a test run with this chick today. Put them away, buddy. She's not impressed. I smirked. I just wanted to emphasize. He sighed, putting them in his pocket. She needs to know that we're not going to put up with her cheating. Technically, she wasn't cheating, I said, knowing it was weak. Not yet, Cook. Not yet. Just don't tell me when you start making love to her, or I'll have to put you down. I hope you do if it ever happens. We could joke all we wanted, but I had no idea what I was going to do with her. And Axel's presence just delayed the inevitable fight I knew was coming. After a few beers, he stood up and said, all right, brother. I can see that you need me out of here so you can talk to that cheating. I stood up, and he saw my anger. Back off, Cook. She's a cheater until she proves otherwise, and you haven't gotten proof yet. If you need me or my couch, you know where to find me. I gave him a hug, and he walked out the door. It was good to have friends, whether they were right or not. I got a nice sirloin steak from the freezer and a cob of corn from the fridge. After cooking the steak in my cast iron skillet, I sat down to eat and wondered where Meg was. I was just cutting into the delicious cow flesh when Meg walked into the kitchen. Where's mine? She asked quietly. In the freezer, I answered and groaned with delight as the meat touched my tongue. She sighed and sat down next to me. I've never had sex with him. I know, I replied with my mouth full. You didn't have to beat him up. I hit him once. That's not beating him up. Why are you acting like this is over nothing? I threw my fork down, making her jump. Trivial? Is that what you think you were doing? Okay, let's see what you think of me doing the same thing. I picked up my cell phone and called Meg's sister. Her sister was younger, prettier. She teased me mercilessly, knowing I was 100% faithful to my dear wife. It was fun for her to let me look up her skirt or under her shirt. Once, she even bit my ear on the dance floor at a wedding, all to piss me off. Hey, Carla. Listen, could you talk dirty to me for a couple of minutes? I want to get hard. Carla happily picked up on it and hummed something wild about her body and how I was targeting her. You! Hole! Give it to me, Meg shouted. She snatched the phone out of my hands and brought it up to her ear. I assumed her sister continued the obscenities because Meg turned green and freaked out. I laughed. Meg was so upset. Saliva was running down her chin as she looked at me and breathed heavily. What were you so angry about? I wasn't going to make love to her. I shrugged. You seem to be acting like it was over nothing. It's not the same thing. You did it on purpose. I laughed and took another bite of steak. So you let someone talk obscenities to you, and you accidentally got horny. What makes it okay? Do you believe the crap you're saying? Or do you just think I'm an idiot? I didn't let him do anything, she screamed. Yeah? Okay. Show me the message where you told him to stop. Because it's not appropriate for married women to have these conversations. I told him on the phone, she sighed. Yeah, that was his message last night. When did you talk to him? Probably not today. I don't know. I guess I meant I was going to tell him. Stop lying while you're behind. I'm this close to kicking you out of the house, and you're not helping your case. You have to convince me why I shouldn't throw you out on the street and divorce you. I'll give you an hour to think about it. I don't want to ruin my dinner. I think she realized I meant what I said. She turned and walked out of the kitchen. The stupid thing about no-win situations, no one can tell you what the right decision is. And I had no idea what I was going to do. I finished my dinner, grabbed another beer, and realized how late it was. With everything that had happened, the day had flown by, and it was getting close to time for me to head to the hayloft. I walked into the living room and didn't see Meg, so I plopped down on the couch and turned on the news. Some pretty blonde girl was talking about truckers blocking the roads when Meg walked in. John. I knew she meant it. She'd never called me John. I looked at her and said nothing. John. Oh, Johnny, I don't know what to do, baby. I swear I've never cheated, and I would never cheat. I guess I just got caught up in the excitement of someone being interested in me and didn't stop them in time. Did you realize that? How do I know you won't succumb to his charms eventually? She sat down and cried. All her former indignant anger vanished. Honey, you have to believe me. I know you don't trust me, but trust me. I've never lied to you. I don't even know that for sure. How do I know you haven't had an affair before, and this isn't just another? She lowered herself to the floor in front of me, kneeling down and resting her head in my lap. I'm so sorry. Tell me how to fix this. I'll do anything. I laughed. I'm glad you find it funny, she moaned. I feel bad. Well, Axel gave me an idea I liked about how you could make it up to me. As for regaining my trust, damned if I know. I'll tell you what. Take the locks off your phone. Give me all the passwords. Let me look at your correspondence. Maybe that'll help, if there's nothing else there. She slid up and put her arms around me. You'll see. There are no other men there. Then she frowned. What? Well, you'll see. I tell my girlfriends things you might not like. I'm sorry, but I have to vent with someone when you piss me off. You'll see that I sometimes call you in, but you'll also see how much I tell my girlfriends I love you? Fair enough. Lord knows I complain about you to my friends sometimes too. We kissed for a while, and then she asked, Darling, what did Axel suggest I do to make it up to you? I smiled. Come on, get on your knees. You can get started on that right now. The end.